So, how would you like to stop craving salt? That would be something. A lot of people have that issue. Are you aware that salt is actually killing people? Yes, salt. That stuff that if you eat too much of, it causes your blood pressure to go up, that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that. And if you hang around to the end, I'm going to give you some advice on things that you can do to help lower that salt intake. And actually, you should be able to not have to take any salt at all. A lot of people are worried about how's my food going to taste. You know what? Your food is going to taste just fine. It'll taste just fine. Once you get yourself acclimated to moving away from that salt, you'll see that everything will go fine. All right. So did you know that salt is killing us? Salt in and of itself, it's really good stuff. We need it. We have to have it for our bodies. But the problem that we're having today, and we're going to find out, is we are having way too much salt in our diet. Everything has salt in it. So the first question that we want to ask is, what exactly is salt? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to read over a couple of articles that is going to explain exactly what salt is. And I think in order for us to get a really good understanding of what salt is, we're just going to have to read it. Okay, so here we go. This is from Britannica. So salt, or the other name for it is sodium chloride. All right, salt, a mineral substance of great importance to human and animal health as well as to industry. The mineral form havoc or rock salt is sometimes called common salt to distinguish it from a class of chemical compounds called salts. Properties of common salt are shown in the table. So here you have this periodic table right here. It talks about the different types of salt. We're not worried about the scientific side of that. All right, so salt is essential to health of both people and animals. Table salt, used universally as a seasoning, is fine-grained and of high purity to ensure that this hygroscopic, i.e. water-attracting substance will remain free-flowing when exposed to atmosphere. Small quantities of sodium aluminosulfate, listen to that, tricalcium phosphate, or magnesium silicate are added. Now, many of us have to ask these questions. We don't even know what some of this stuff is. Magnesium, hey, we got that down. But this other stuff that we're talking about, we don't even know what it is. All right, iodized salt. That is salt to which small quantities of potassium iodide have been added, is widely used in areas where iodine is lacking from the diet. A deficiency that can cause swelling of the thyroid gland, commonly called goiter. Livestock also require salt. It is often made available in solid blocks. The meat packing, sausage making, fish curing, and food processing industry, listen to that, and food processing industries use salt as a preservative or seasoning or both. It is employed for curing and preserving hides and as a brine for refrigerating. Okay, so that's really all I need. That's really all that I need to read of that one. And as like I said, as we can see, salt, it is needed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's not needed. There is a reason why we have to consume salt. It is really important to our bodies, but do we have to have so much of it? In today's time, do we have to? All right, let's look at another article, and it's going to answer this question for you. All right, so We eat too much sodium because companies keep dumping it in our food. Listen to that. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention is beating the drum again. We're consuming too much sodium, and it is a reason we have such a high rate of hypertension and cardiovascular disease. Not me, you say. Well, chances are, yes, you. An analyst appearing in the week's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report reveals that 89% of U.S. adults were consuming more than the recommended 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day in the years 2009 to 2012. Now, we're way past that now. Trust me. According to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey data. All right, so let me discuss this a little bit. It's like everything that we are eating now has salt. It's almost like we're being the meat that's hung out to be salted. So when you get up in the morning and you eat breakfast, if you go to a fast food restaurant, it's full of sodium. When we get up and eat breakfast and even we fix our own food, we're always having a couple of shakes of salt to it. Also, when we have dinner time, we go out and purchase food, fast food, restaurant food. It has a lot of sodium. So 3 meals a day at least, we are getting bombarded with sodium or salt. And so many of us wonder why our blood pressure is so high. And it affects everyone, but it really affects African Americans. So why are we having such a hard problem with sodium? It's because all of our foods have an excess amount of sodium. And we'll get into a little bit deeper here in just a second. Let me show you one more article, and this one article right here should prove the point. All right. Now look at this. This is from NPR. It's called Death by Salt. Death by salt. New study finds sodium is a global killer. So we know that there is an issue with salt. Let's see. Americans are accustomed to being nagged about salt. We're told we consume too much, particularly from processed foods. Mark that one, from processed foods. And that all this salt can increase the risk of high blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes. Okay, what are the issues that are plaguing your community? I'll guarantee you that if you go and look at what's going on within your communities, you're going to find the risk of high blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes, along with diabetes and all those things too. So again, we wonder why we have such high blood pressure. I wondered all of my life. I wondered why I was having such a problem with my blood pressure. From the time that I was in high school all the way up to 52 years old, I had high blood pressure. Couldn't understand it. Had no idea what was going on. You know what the doctors told me? The doctors told me that I had white coat syndrome. That means whenever I saw a white coat or a doctor come into the doctor's office, it means that it made my blood pressure go up. So all of my life, I thought I had white coat syndrome. And then finally, a doctor said to me, "You don't have white coat syndrome. Your blood pressure is regularly high. Your blood pressure stays up." So I knew that it was a real issue. It was a real problem then when I found out that it was always up. So then I bought a blood pressure machine, and it was always up. I never saw my blood pressure below 140, or 150 over like 90. So I was always high, and I always had it in the back of my head, when I ate something, yes, salty, I would lay in the bed and hear my heart thumping, doom, 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 doom. I mean, I could put my fingers in my ears and hear my heart thumping through my ears, my blood pressure, my blood pumping. So I was just wondering what was going on. Why am I like this? And then I did my own research, and I really found out it was because of the sodium. So let's finish out with this article here. Turns out it's the same story most places around the globe. Worldwide, people consume an average of 3,950 milligrams of sodium a day, according to a new study published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And though there are regional daily differences ranging from about 2,000 milligrams to 5,500 milligrams, the global average is nearly double what the World Health Organization recommends. And we have advertisement. Okay, this salt overload is taking its toll. The study concludes that about 1.65 million deaths from cardiovascular disease each year can be attributed to sodium consumption. Do you hear that? 1.65 million deaths from cardiovascular disease each year can be attributed to sodium consumption. I wonder if there are that many vehicle deaths. I mean, I could probably go check it, but I'm not going to. Are there that many vehicle deaths a year? I mean, just think about all the deaths that take place. It seems like this would be somewhat of a high figure, doesn't it? So why do we continue to have salt pumped into our food when we don't need it? I would say that that's a good question. Okay, I'm going to read this last one, this last paragraph right here. That's remarkably high. That's almost 1 in 10 of all cardiovascular deaths around the world. Durish Mazzafaran, a study author and dean of the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy at Tufts University, told us by phone, this suggests that a single factor in the diet, salt, could be contributing to almost 10% of the cardiovascular burden. All right, now, so listen, to get a picture of a global salt consumption, Mazzafaran and his colleagues collected a survey data on sodium intake from 66 countries, and they analyzed more than 100 prior studies to assess the effects of sodium on blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. So, where are the global hotspots when it comes to death by salt? The study finds that the proportion of death from heart attacks and strokes attributed to sodium ranges quite a bit. In Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, about 10% of cardiovascular deaths, and that's among people 70 and younger, are linked to high salt intake. So we have a problem. We have an issue with high salt intake here in the United States and actually around the world. It seems to be one of those things that definitely does affect us. Okay, so now that we know what the problem is that we are eating an awful lot of salt. When we buy processed food from the grocery stores, it is loaded with sodium. When we go to fast food chains, loaded with sodium. When we go to restaurants, loaded with sodium. When we cook at home, for those who like salt, loaded with sodium, okay? So we're gonna have to find a way to get off of the salt so that many of us can get that blood pressure down. We can quit having this cardiovascular disease issue because of sodium, the kidney disease, and all these things sodium is affecting, okay? So if your blood pressure is high, guaranteed that your kidneys are having an issue. guaranteed that your heart is having an issue because we're dealing with blood pressure. So blood is being pumped from the heart. The heart is overworking, and it's putting a gobs amount of pressure in our kidneys, and our kidneys begin to become kind of destroyed from all that pressure that we have. So we got to figure out what we're going to do about this. So I've got some points for you real quick. I'm going to tell you how you can alleviate the sodium that you have in your diet. Okay. All right. So let's look at the first step. Eat whole foods. If you eat whole food, it has the proper amount of sodium or salt in it that you need. Trust me, the Most High has made the food for us. It grows from the ground. It's pulling up salt. It's pulling up minerals, all of that. It's actually in the vegetables that we eat. It's actually in the fruit that we eat. It's in small quantities. So when you're eating this, you're getting the amount that your body really does need. If you don't cook it, the problem is we cook everything. Okay? So eat. I'm not going to tell you what you should eat. I'm just going to tell you that if you eat your food whole, meaning raw, you're going to get the sodium that you need, and you're going to find places to get that. Okay. So eat your whole foods. They are lower in sodium or salt. They will not drive your blood pressure up. Y'all know how it is when you eat food that is high in sodium and your blood pressure spikes. I remember people in my family, after they ate a piece of country ham, they had to go lay down because their blood pressure was up. They had a head that was hurting because of headaches. So just remember that sodium is what is causing your head to hurt and your blood pressure to go up. Most of the time, that is going to be the issue. All right. Another thing, flavoring your food. Hey, use natural herbs and spices. Now, when you buy the herbs and spices from the grocery store, look on the back and make sure it does not have any sodium, because a lot of times they put these herbs and spices together and they mix salt in with it. That's really what makes it taste good. So try buying herbs and spices that has no sodium. Okay? No sodium. It'll help you out. The next thing, read your labels. When you buy food at the store, if it has a high sodium content, try to find something else or something that says no salt. That is very hard to do. Very hard to find foods with no salt. There are some in the canned food section, but that's not a whole food. That's, once again, a processed food, and that's where you're going to find the sodium, is in processed foods. So try buying whole foods and eating whole foods. Even if you have to cook them or saute them, try doing the whole food, and you'll find out that you will no longer have those salt cravings. I know for myself, I guess I really wasn't up on salt, but I was. I didn't think that I liked salt. But when I switched over to whole food, eating fruits and vegetables, I never had a salt craving problem. That wasn't an issue for me. I didn't have to go and sprinkle salt on everything. My salt cravings that I had, it went away with the food that I quit eating. So replace processed food, which is full of sodium, with whole food, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. That sodium crave will go away. Now, if you're eating whole food and that's really all you're eating, and you start craving salt, you need to give yourself a little bit. Okay? Give yourself a limited amount, because your body knows what it needs, and your body will let you know what it needs. Okay? So you'll start to get a craving for it, but that is only if you're eating whole food, you're eating plants, you're eating fruits. If you're eating processed food, you're going to crave sodium regardless. Okay? Even when you're getting a lot, you're still going to want it. All right? So that's another one. Here's a good one right here. Choose potassium-rich foods. Okay? Choose potassium-rich foods. It helps counteract the sodium in your body. So if you have a lot of sodium in your body, you want to eat things like bananas, avocados, spinach. You want to eat foods like that because it does counteract those things that are going on in your body. So be careful with the amount of salt that you're taking in. And I know that I see a comment, but let me tell you this. Salt is salt is salt. Salt is sodium, okay? It doesn't matter whether it's Himalayan. Now, Himalayan salt is better for you, Celtic salt, all of that salt is a better type of salt, but all salt has sodium. So if you're a person who is like me, who would have high blood pressure from eating sodium, it doesn't matter what kind of salt I eat. I can eat Himalayan salt. My blood pressure will go up. Okay? It's just, that's the way my body is. It's been that way for so long. We've grown up being that way. So now I can say I can eat a little bit of salt now and it doesn't bother me. But to eat the processed food salt that we normally do all the time, we got to stay away from that. Okay? So try to eat as little salt as possible because you're getting the proper amount of sodium if you eat the food the way the Most High made it and no added salt to it. All right. So remember, this moves you away. When you eat whole foods, it moves you away from wanting salt. I don't put salt on my food anymore. I don't crave salt anymore. Salt is not an issue for me. So somebody can hand me something and I'm good. I don't need any salt in it whatsoever. All right. The last thing, stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water. All right. For those of you who are like me, who are big fruit eaters now, eat a lot of water fruit. Water fruit keeps your body hydrated and it helps flush that sodium out. So it's important that you stay hydrated because salt will dehydrate you. It'll keep your body dry. And you don't want that because high blood pressure, all the salt, all of those things. You know, when I would go to the doctor, sometimes the doctor would say to me, and my wife was there with me, they were trying to draw my blood and they could not get my blood. They couldn't pull any blood out of my veins. And the lady said to me, "Have you had anything to drink today?" And I said, "I had some coffee." She said, "Honey, you need to drink something. I can't even get blood out of your veins." So imagine how hard my heart was pumping to move that blood and circulate it through my body. I was dehydrated from all of the salt that I was eating. So be careful when it comes to the salt. Stay hydrated. Eat those fruits and vegetables that have a lot of potassium in them. They will help offset that sodium that is in your body. Also help your kidneys as well. You notice when people who have kidney issues, they'll say, "Hey, stay away from the potassium," or your potassium level is too high. See, it all works hand in hand. So we have to be very careful. I'm not a doctor. I can't treat people and tell people. All I can do is tell you from my own personal experience with my own body, this is what happened to me. So be very careful with the salt. Remember, I'm going to go through these. Eat whole foods if you want to move away from salt. Flavor your food with spices and herbs. Okay? Read labelings on the packaged food that you buy. Stay away from the foods that have a lot of sodium. And if it's packaged, it's going to be a lot of sodium. That's why we want to eat whole food in the raw as much as possible. Number 4, choose potassium-rich foods, bananas, spinach, avocados. These things are going to move you far away from salt. And lastly, but not least, stay hydrated. Fruit, like whole fruit, to eat an apple, to eat a watermelon, to eat oranges. Like today, I've eaten a bag of oranges already. And it flushes you. And that's what it'll do. It'll flush that sodium out of your body, that extra sodium that you do not need. it will help flush that out of your body. So, all right, I hope we all learned something today. Stay away from the salt as much as possible. Salt is killing people. Let me say it one more time in case nobody remembers what I say. Salt is killing people, and this country is eating way too much salt in its processed food. If you have high blood pressure, probably so, your marker is going to be saying that you're eating too much sodium. Okay, so back off of the sodium and you will see that you will start to do a lot better. Hey, I hope that this was helpful for you all. For those of you all who are watching this by Facebook, I will have this YouTube up in case you missed part of it. I will have it up on my YouTube site. From process to pure food movement. It will be up on that YouTube channel. I probably will have it up by either this evening or by tomorrow. So if you want to see this whole thing, please go and watch that on that page. Please, if you would, subscribe to it and click the bell, and that way you'll know whenever I release a video. So these videos that I'm doing is from questions that was asked of me, what they should do. So you'll see the next several videos are going to be coming out are going to be me answering questions that people ask. So, hey, thank you so much. I'm glad that you all were able to join me. I hope this was beneficial to you. And for those of you who have high blood pressure, who have heart issues, heart conditions, and things like that, kidney issues, I hope that this was beneficial to you and you go get those things checked. All right, so it was really good being here. I enjoy this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.